All right, in the studio today, I have something very, very special. This is the new Nuphy Kick 75. I've been a massive fan of Nuphy keyboards for a very long time, and this one has not let me down. So let's talk about it real quick before we get into it. Let me just tell you, they did not sponsor this video. They did, however, send me out this unit to check out and review. They're not going to see this video, in the first place, so that's not a big deal. They're not kind of trying to tell me what to say. So this is an unbiased review. You might think, well, they sent you out something, so it is biased. Maybe a little bit, but I have used the Air 75, which is a predecessor to this. I've used it every single day for about 2 years. It's my favorite keyboard by far, and so I love low-profile keyboards. So let's kind of talk about some of that real quick. When you're looking at a keyboard like this, look at that low-profile nature. Now, what this is you have high keyboards, you have low keyboards. I'm somebody who types a whole lot, and so I find low-profile keyboards so much more handy for me. It's like less strain on your wrist kind of thing, and so I love that. And as a longtime user of the Magic Keyboard, this is just kind of the Magic Keyboard up on steroids. Like, it looks way cooler, it functions way better, it's got more functionality to it. Now, I do think it's really important for people to realize how the angle of your wrist is so important. When you're typing, if your wrist is too angled, you're gonna have a lot of problems. And I know it kind of seemed like a little bit of a wimp if you're talking about this, but man, if you've ever had wrist pain for long periods of time and like constantly aching, that's not fun, man. And so having a low profile keyboard that really does fit your typing style, I mean, you're sitting there for 8 hours a day at your job, typing all day. I think the ergonomics is really, really important. And why not, if you're somebody who's going to be, doing input all day, every day, why not have something that actually is aesthetic, actually is enjoyable, that you don't need to kind of look at and hate every single moment, like just a black keyboard kind of thing. I like this kind of feel, but not only does it look good, it also feels good on your wrists. Now, one of the coolest things about this keyboard is the actual look of it. It's designed with kind of a retro tech look, which is awesome to me as somebody who grew up in the 90s, late 80s, 90s. I love old retro tech. And so what's cool about this, if you didn't know this back then, translucent plastic was like all the rage. So all of our Game Boys came in the purple translucence, all that kind of stuff. And so they're kind of calling back to that. Also the fact that it has this 8-bit kind of character. Let's try to get that with the lighting. The 8-bit character in here, it's just, man, it looks so cool. With the color scheme, I think it gives off that old school vibe. And as somebody who's just nostalgic, I love old tech. I am a very nostalgic person. This checks all the boxes for me. Now, one of the things that makes this keyboard so unique is the fact that it has hot swappable switches for both low profile and high profile key switches. That's crazy to me. And so if you're somebody who does like kind of higher profile switches, you can use those. If you're like me and you like low profile, you don't do as much gaming, you do a whole lot more typing, low profile switches is where it's at. And so that's what I'm using. Let's kind of look at the actual switch that I have in here. It's the reds, and so you can get any of the classic blue, brown, red. They have one more, it's like a plush color or something like that, like a fleshy looking color. It's kind of weird, but man, these things sound incredible. There's one thing I have to say so far about my time with this keyboard is the fact that, bro, it just sounds and feels so good. There's multiple layers of foam in it, and so it kind of like eats up all that extra reverberation within the body of the keyboard. And these keycaps are really high quality keycaps. They are anti-shine, and so they're gonna last a really long time. Now, what's cool about this keyboard is it does come in both, in one keyboard it has the PC setup and the Windows setup, and you actually use a little switch on the side here to switch that over. But what's cool about it is you can connect 4 different devices, and so with that 2.4 gigahertz wireless dongle, it also has 3 Bluetooth, inputs that you can have. So you can have this with your MacBook and your desktop PC and your laptop, or sorry, your MacBook, your desktop, or your iPad, that kind of thing. What I do is I have it connected to my laptop, to my PC, and to my iPad. And so it's really helpful because if you're somebody who has multiple devices, which kind of we all do these days, being able to switch back and forth without having to switch the dongle over, it's a game changer. Another really cool thing with this keyboard is a lot of these little accents that you see, like this red rubber right there, all that kind of stuff. A lot of it they're putting online with the open source ability to print your own stuff. And so if you're somebody who's really into 3D printing, 3D printing has absolutely exploded in popularity over these past couple years. 3D printers are cheaper now than ever to get like a decent quality 3D printer. If you're somebody who is kind of a DIY person and you do a lot of stuff yourself, they're making it so that you can print certain parts of this keyboard so that you can make it kind of look how you want. Now, with it also having its own switches and all that, you can change those out to create a whole different feel, a whole different vibe. And so I really like the customizability of a keyboard like this. And so like when you get down to the rubber right there or to the knob, the kind of twisting knob, you can do all sorts of cool things. You can make it exactly how you want it, which is kind of what everybody wants. All right, next let's talk about this little knob right here. One of the cool things with this knob is it's remappable. And so if you're using something like Mac OS, you're gonna use these function row, you know, the function inputs right there. But you can remap this to be something like if you're using Final Cut or if you're using DaVinci, you can use it for the timeline, all that kind of stuff. You can use it in Photoshop for just different aspects, brush sizes, all that kind of stuff. So it's just really cool to be able to remap something so that it's hyper usable. Like the utility of a keyboard like this, if you're a creative professional, is massive. But let's be real, the reason why people would get a keyboard like this is because of the look and the feel and, more importantly, the sound. Listen to this guy. It sounds incredible. I love that kind of like low, dense feel and sound of a keyboard, and so the kind of like thockiness of this thing is right on par. Now, another really cool feature of this keyboard is the wrist rest. Now, here's what's cool. With it being hot swappable, you're gonna have times where the keyboard needs to be higher or the wrist rest needs to be higher or lower. So watch this. It comes apart. So if you're using just the low profile side, you would use just this lower one. And then if you know, because look, it's thin. And then if you were gonna do a high profile keyboard, you attach this, it's got some magnets or something like that in there, holds it together really nice. I find that to be a really, really cool feature. I mean, companies don't always think of things like this. And so that's one of the things I've loved about Nuphy's kind of attention to quality and detail. They just go the extra mile where a lot of companies would have cut corners. So overall, my feel on the Nuphy Kick 75 is I haven't had anything to complain about just yet. Like the one thing that I would change is some of the roundness of this design. So maybe in a future version, if they kind of make it a little bit more angular. But when you're talking about tech from the early 2000s, the 90s, it was rounded tech. Look at like the old N64 controller, a lot of rounded corners. So it fits the bill for the vibe they're going for. Looks awesome. It's kind of that 10 keyless, 75% style, which I love. I don't like big keyboards with extra number pads, all that. So it's just an awesome keyboard. I have literally nothing bad to say about this thing. I highly recommend it. If you're somebody who's like looking to create a cool vibe on your desk, man, I think this is the way to do it. Plus, with having hot swappable keycaps, hot swappable key switches, you can kind of do whatever you want with this keyboard and it's gonna work out awesome. So go ahead, hit the link in the description below if you wanna pick up your Kick 75. I will get a small kickback. It's not gonna change. And maybe I will buy an extra coffee this month because of you purchasing this. That's pretty much what I'm gonna get back. But totally worth the money. Totally agree that like Nuphy makes dope keyboards. So if you're into that, I'd pick it up. Go ahead and check the link in the description. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 20,000 now. We're moving pretty quick. So sub to the channel. Love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.